So I didn't say in the last video, but this particular graphic comes from a freshman accounting textbook. So this is what we use with first year students as they're learning accounting to talk about the balanced scorecard. Within business, if you were a business student at Wartburg, you've seen the balanced scorecard in multiple classes. So this is our first year graphic. Internal processes. So of course, these internal processes are aligned to a very specific type of business. But what the purpose of the internal process section is how you're going to change the way that your organization works. So, for example, if you're, you might be wanting to increase the effectiveness of meetings, or the way that your team is productive. So the number of, and it might even be, let's look at trying to recruit new students. So the number of contacts that we have with new students, or the crossover with teams. So if you have multiple teams that are working with students, how do you cross those over? Or let's think about some other different examples of internal processes. So maybe a reduced meeting time. So maybe you're having too many meetings, okay? So the innovation and learning, or the learning and growth, this is professional development, or what I always term as the human resources section. This is about our employees or our team. What is our employee satisfaction? How are we reducing employee turnover? Employee turnover is one of the single most expensive things that a company does. It is expensive to recruit and onboard new employees. It is cheaper and more cost effective to keep your employees and keep them happy. Happy employees are more dedicated to the organization. So this is a huge thing. And then how much access do they have to professional development? Are you developing them? Are you helping them be better at their jobs? And then one of the things that a balanced scorecard does is it makes assumptions, or those hypotheses are built into it. If we decrease employee turnover and increase employee satisfaction, we have happier employees that have been there longer. They are going to do better at their jobs, and we're going to have better productivity, which will automatically increase our customer satisfaction. Okay. And then the last section, which is financial. Financial are things like increase in sales, increase in profit, increase in return on investment. And a return on investment means that what are we getting back from the money we put into the project? So are we seeing the results that we want from the money we're putting into this project? So that's return on investment. There are a lot of different financial characteristics. So on the next couple of slides, we're going to look at some different examples of balanced scorecards, because you might be looking at this balanced scorecard right now and thinking, there is no way I can apply this to my project. I don't even know where to begin with applying this to my project and starting to make a balanced scorecard. So let's look at some other examples. So this next balanced scorecard is for a city government. Okay, so instead of customers, we have citizens. So the people that we are serving are citizens. Okay, we still have the financial component. So what are we doing? Maybe providing transparency or having reports are the way that we're doing that management and finances. Remember how we're using our resources. As a city government or a state government, the money that we're using is often provided to us by citizens in the form of tax dollars. And citizens want to know how their tax dollars are being used. And a lot of that just comes down to providing transparency. Here's an example of various internal processes that we can look for in a city government. Okay, so minimize traffic delays, invest in beneficial infrastructure for within the city. And then instead of learning and growth, they've named this section culture and capacity. It still has the same feel as learning and growth, but that different name works better for their organization. So promote the growth and development of city staff and leadership. So you see from learning and growth is develop employees. Cherish volunteers who donate their time and energy to support our city. Okay? So this might be through a volunteer recognition program. So how do we show? So a lot of these, as I said, because they're examples, because they're templates, they're just using sentences. When you have a final balanced scorecard, you need to use key performance indicators that utilize the rules of SMART goals. So they should all be measurable. So when you say promote the growth and development of staff and leadership, there should be a number to that. Make sure that every single staff goes to one training a year if you aren't currently doing any trainings. So making sure that that has a measurable incentive tied to it, which is that KPI or the key performance indicator. So let's look at another example. This is a social services organization, okay? Our client, who is our customer. So this could be a nonprofit organization, and the people that we're serving are the people within the community that take advantage of whatever our nonprofit service is. So who is coming in and using that nonprofit service? That is our client or our customer, okay? Financial. Again, we get into these things. We're not trying to make money. This organization is not trying to make money. However, they do need to make sure that they are being good stewards of the resources entrusted to them, whether that is through donations of time, donations of money, donations of supplies. Those are all of your resources, and you need to show people that you're being good stewards of resources, okay? Just like financial companies or corporations have to prove what they're doing with their money, nonprofit organizations actually have a harder push of that because they're getting donations or they're getting tax dollars, and people are often very concerned about how those donations and tax dollars are being spent. Okay? Internal processes. We want to make a difference. We want to help people. We want to lobby for changes. So not only do we as an organization want to serve the public, but we want to also change government laws that currently exist that make it difficult for those people. Okay? And then look for different revenue streams. That is really just find more donors, find other ways to make money. But that's an internal process. And then that ties to once we find different ways to make money, then we need to make sure that we're using it and explaining to people how we're using it. Okay? Then in learning and growth, this is also internal. So making sure our staff and volunteers have the tools necessary to support our strategy. Okay? Creating a positive performance-driven culture. Everybody's working toward the vision. Everybody's working toward the goal. Okay. Let's look at a couple. I have two more. So instead of stopping this video at 10 minutes, I'm just going to push through and keep going. Okay. This is an example of it in education. Okay. So here we have resource management is the label instead of finance or financial management. How are we using our resources that are provided to us? Okay. Our community and education. So the community is our customer. That's who we serve. Whether we call them community, we call them students, we call them customers, we call them the client. It's who are we serving? Who is using what we are giving? Okay. Learning. So this is that learning and growth part, or our internal processes. So our internal processes, we want to improve student progress. And remember, we need to tie a KPI to that. So it's not just improve student progress, but it's we see a 5% increase in student exam scores or in students who graduate. Increase student satisfaction. We see a 10% increase in the number of students who would recommend our programs. Okay. And then here we get to the learning and growth, increase campus diversity. So that's our employee part, our human resources part. We're going to find a way to hire a more diverse employment pool or more diverse faculty and staff. We're going to provide better disability access. This means that we have to train people in order to make sure that students have the access that they need. Okay, last one. So this is looking at a bank. Okay, we see in their financial, we want to increase our revenues and control our costs. Those are very common financial KPIs. Reduce costs, increase revenues. Our customer. So we have customers as a bank. People come in, they use our services, they deposit their money. And so how do we serve them? What is their confidence in how do we even increase customers? Maybe we want to have more customers. We want to say, of the customers who already utilize our checking accounts, we would like to see a 5% increase in people who also use savings accounts. To an internal process. So these are the things internally that we need to change. Use technology to improve efficiency. Streamline our processes. Strengthen partnerships within our organization. Who can we work with to be better at what we're already doing? Okay? And then our learning and growth. So training, hiring, collaboration, clear communication of our strategy. All of these should be working together to complete your vision. Okay, so this is the end of the examples that I have. If you, of course, Google Balanced Scorecard, you will find millions upon millions of examples and templates and different ways to use a balanced scorecard. And as always, you can email me with any questions that you have, or even ask them in your discussion post because I do read every single one.